welcome back to Charlotte Mason Coast to Coast. I'm Amy Snell here from the East Coast, and I'm with Celeste Cruz from California, and we share tips on how to implement the Charlotte Mason method in your home. Hi Celeste, it's good to see you.
Hi Amy, and hello everyone else. We're so glad that you joined us as we consider the duties we have as Charlotte Mason educators and the delights that are in store for us as we embrace this philosophy of education with a thinking love. So this week we are sharing answers to a question I think we both get a lot. How do we do it all with large families? And my number one answer is that we don't. Involvement of the kids in the home allows us to have that healthy balance of being able to do lessons, being able to fulfill outside commitments, work on projects like this, and then also take care of our families with the help of the other people in our homes. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, specifically with chores. And as Mason educators, we like to consider our approach in light of our 3 tools of education. So we're going to focus on how to consider chores in the context of atmosphere, discipline, and life. Amy, do you want to start with living ideas, life?
Yes. I think when so many of us, once we understand Mason's method for a lesson plan, we know that we want to start with an inspiring idea. And then the children, when they're reading, they can hang the knowledge that they gain on those ideas. And we see that works so well, but we don't always remember to do that with the other areas of life, like chores. And so to think through and talk about with our children the things that would inspire them to want to work and work hard and give to their family. And so at the retreat, I tried to share, a bunch of what I thought are some of the inspiring or captain ideas surrounding our work, because it's important for our children to know why we work, for whom do we work, to what end, and then to be sure that we're carefully training them in how to do each of those tasks. But before we begin with the, step by step, okay, you're going to clean the bathroom once a week, we would want to have that sense of why do this? So it's also a helpful thing for me when I go back to when I'm finding times that I'm struggling with, why am I picking up this again? Or, oh, I can't believe I'm making another meal, to stop myself and go back to the ideas of the importance of family life. So just spending some time to brainstorm about who we are as a family, and what our goals are, and what kind of home do we want to live in, and how do each of us contribute to that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was going to talk a little bit about discipline. I think that this is the thing that people think of when they think about chores, but it's so good to have those inspiring ideas thought through first, and just knowing why we're teaching our children what we're teaching them. And part of that has to do with discipline, because our child is not just a combination of faculties. Mason teaches that he is a whole person. And so part of that is that we don't only teach him educational things. We're not only cultivating his mind. We also have a responsibility of cultivating, his body and his spirit, a spirit of service and charity. And so if we're looking at our child as a whole person, that is the motivating factor for our training him in chores. It's not just an advantage to us, but it really is an advantage to our child in his development as a child and as an adult. And I think that this becomes really clear when we see how our intellectual progress is determined by the habits we have in a lot of ways. For example, if we go to do geography and our geography notebook isn't there because we left it in the bag, or we go to do our brush drawing and we didn't rinse out the paintbrushes from last time, So these elements of our child's person work together to form success and progress for him. And we can only be effective in each of these areas when we're dealing with the other areas as well. So anything that we do in training our child in good habits pays dividends in their intellectual life and their spiritual life, their social life. It's just really part of being a whole person and learning how to live.
And so often I've seen that, you know, a child might be struggling in their schoolwork to always do their best work or to finish, right, the project or to keep up their stamina to the end. But then usually you see that in all different areas of their life. And so they don't have the wherewithal to put their shoes all the way into our shoe bin. They're the same child that's leaving their shoes outside of the shoe bin. But it's hard in a subject like math, which already has all of its challenges, to work on that habit or that virtue. If we work on it with, okay, let's try to put our shoes all the way away in the bin where they're supposed to go, then they build up that muscle, that ability, and it overflows into math and their whole life. And we hope that these habits will stay, you know, that's our goal, is to be helping them develop as a whole person. And so then that takes us to the last tool that Mason says that we have as educators, and that's the atmosphere. With the atmosphere, again, is so critical in how we approach assigning chores and the expectations that we hold for ourselves and our children hold for themselves about the chores. So to think through, am I expressing gratitude for the work that they do? Our son has recently taken over cutting the grass each week, and it's a huge gift to us that on a Saturday my husband doesn't have to go out and do it. And so remembering each week, though it's now starting to become commonplace that he does this, but each time to remember to say thank you and to remind him that it's saving his dad time, but saving us money, all of those things. And you know, to make sure that I even am checking my own attitude when you start to see children kind of begrudging a chore or something like that, then I often notice that it's at a time where I'm doing the same thing, and you know, I have a bad attitude about, you know, why making dinner, or you know, you just get stuck in a rut. And so of course our children will have those same moments, and so I can work on myself first, and from the overflow of the joy and delight in our home life that spills to them. And so it really ties into this question that I think we both get asked a lot, because you know, having a big family that we're homeschooling, we ask a lot of our children. And so some people have asked us, you know, do we worry about that? Are we placing too much of a demand on our children? And, you know, in many ways, to me, it seems like this is a modern question, and not one that for a long time people really asked of themselves. We don't see Ma Ingalls being plagued with this worry for when she's asking Laura and Mary to do their chores. She knows if she doesn't ask them, if they don't do the chores, like they're going to starve, and like they depend on each other. And so yes, our lives have changed from the life of the pioneer woman, but the work in our home is still valuable, and it's still necessary, and it is good for us to work and embrace that work. I know that the oldest daughter in a family has a special role, and we took a poll at the retreat, if you remember that, and it was interesting how many, it was like by far the majority of the women in the room were an eldest daughter. But the one metaphor that you used throughout the retreat, Celeste, that was so helpful was, you know, thinking of ourselves as the captain on the ship, and how all the ways you worked that metaphor through were so helpful. And it reminded me of a talk I once heard from a mother who had 10 children, and she was talking about her eldest daughter, and she said, my oldest daughter is really my ship's mate. If I'm the captain, she is right there as my first mate. And I've kept that thought with me, and I'm so then grateful for my daughter Grace, who's really then becoming is one of my very best friends, and is right there by my side through all of these things, and I'm so grateful for her. If you would like to hear more about the habits of home and school, that was one of the workshops of the retreat, and is part of the Thinking Love retreat package. We also have in the handbook we created our different chore routines, and I love seeing how other people work theirs out. And so you have Celeste, and then right by Celeste on the next page are then the Snell household, and everyone shared about how it was neat to see them side by side, because you can see so much of Mason's principles, but yet they're worked through in ways that make sense for our family life. What does it look like for a family on the East Coast, a family of 5, and the different activities that we're involved in, and then your family, Celeste. So we hope you will subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future videos. And still, again, we're interested in hearing if there's anything else that we could be sharing about and answering your questions. So leave that in the comments below, and we'll be back soon.